Well, thank you so much for coming. It's so nice to have you. It makes me so happy to see you here. So tell everybody what you do, how'd you end up coming to the guides, and what your journey has been.
So good. So I am Gaby. I am a former lawyer. I have a science background, which is why we were joking around about the graphs and everything that I really loved. And in between, I left my law job in 2015 when I had my first son, and I started a design business and transitioned about a year ago into coaching. I'm certified in rapid transformational therapy. So a mix of hypnotherapy, NLP, CBT. And I work with women entrepreneurs to help them overcome their subconscious blocks to success so that they can also reach their critical point and soar.
Yay!
Oh,
Okay.
and how did I connect with you?
Yes. Tell them how you end up here.
And so Solera and we met in another group and we did a call to just connect and get to know each other. And she told me about what she did. I told her about what I did. And so we worked together and I got a session with the guides, and I remember telling her at the end, I was like, now I understand why Oprah has a spiritual advisor, because it is so powerful, and when you're not really used to, now I'm used to it, right? Like now I'm just used to the guides, and I'm like, Solera, I need a session. But that first session was really, really just blew my mind.
Yeah, actually, they were like, okay, what you're thinking is just a tiny step. Let's move really fast forward to like the big step. What is your 100 step?
Yeah. Yeah. It's so funny. And someone was commenting on the hearts. So when I came to Solera, I actually my business was really new because I got certified in May. And so I think our first session was like May or June. And she was like, all right, what's your step 100? And I was like, oh, I want to launch a group program. And the guides are like, no. That's your step 2. Like, what's your step 50? What's your step 100? And I think like seeing that group program as my step 2 was so illuminating for me, because I had been like, I would have stayed stuck in that space of like, I want one day, someday, someday I'll launch this, eventually I'm getting, I saw that as really like the end goal. And I think like taking a step back and expanding beyond that made it feel so small. And so I launched my group program that month.
Yeah.
And I had 25 people sign up. And so those hearts in the back, those are the people that are in it now. So it's like, you can see, so many people. And that was really like the start, was working with Solera. And so now there's like over 100 women.
Yay! I know you did so well.
Yeah. And so I had done all the hearts and put people's names as they signed up and stuff. But you can see, I mean, talk about exponential growth, right? And talk about the little steps. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
The beginning was like, okay, let's just do a little bit of this. And then, and the guys kept pushing you. They were so direct.
Yeah. Yeah. Every time I've had a session, it's really been so fantastic. And it really is always exactly what I need to hear, but not what I expect that I need to hear.
Yeah. Like almost everybody says that, it's like, it's not really what I want to hear. I don't feel like I'm ready for that. And they have said, no, Gaby, you need to create like a long-term thing, make a container for everybody. This is your jam. You're like a community builder. This is what you're good at. Just go do it.
Yeah. And I remember at first, like, and they gave me that visual. They were like, you just need to imagine yourself like hugging a globe and like trusting that you can hold space for all those people. And it really helped, because as people were signing up, there was like just so many like signing up. And I just like kept imagining myself. I'm like, my arms are getting so long and I can just keep hugging everyone. It's just like, it's fine. It's going to be fine. Like I just had that visual of myself like hugging the globe. And I was like, just keep them coming, like keep people coming in, like trusting that all the right people are signing up, and I remember our second session, what really came up was like that long-term, what's the word? Commitment.
Yeah.
Commitment. And after that, things like really shifted for me, because then after that session, I really moved into like multi 5-figure months and really, and beyond,
Yeah. But I think it's also that you implement, right? Like there's what the guides would say to you, But I think the next step is also, it just depends on a student if they're willing to take that leap or not. And I think it really just depends on the individual. Are you willing to go there or not? Right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm always willing to go there. like the guides tell me something, I'm like, right, perfect, jumping on it, and I'm doing it.
Do you have any advice? Oh, I was going to say, do you have any advice for people who are afraid to make the commitment?
That to me, I think was like the hardest one. But what I love about them is that they really give you like the kind of tangible steps about commitment, and when people think about commitment, we feel like it has to be so big and it has to be like this huge show of commitment and like this huge, like, I'm going to be, a lifetime program or whatever, or this is what I'm doing and I'm deciding and I'm putting it out there that this is who I am and committing to this version of myself. And I think that what they taught me was that it's really like about the day-to-day kind of stuff, the decisions that we make on a day-to-day basis, right? Commitment within our family, commitment. I looked around, like after that call, I was like talking to my husband, and he was like, there's like, Gabby, there's like things are not hanging on our walls. Like, it like brought to my mind, like, all, like, we've lived in our house for 3 years. Like, he's like, there's so many ways in which like that commitment isn't there. Like, of course you don't feel grounded, right? Like, and I was like looking around, like, you're right, like things hang. So like we hung paintings, we hung things, and it was like all those small steps of commitment are what make the big difference in the long run.
Yeah, no, thanks for saying that, because I think that's what they were trying to express. It's just like those minor micro step of showing the universe, this is who I want to be, right? This is who I'm becoming.
Yeah. Yeah. And and even like committing to, okay, for me, it was also like, I felt very Solera, but it was like really committing to that trust. I was like, okay, like Money and I have been dancing for a long time, and like we need to go all the way. Like, I'm buying a pair of Jimmy Choo shoes. Like, tonight is the night. It's the third date. Like, we are getting it on. Because for so long, I would just like hold Money and be like, oh, but what if for a rainy, like, what if, what if and I was just like, I'm going to show this commitment. I'm committed to making more money. I'm committed to having, the income that I spend now get replaced. Right. I'm committed to practicing what I preach, basically.
Yeah, I think it's always hard to build that trust level. But I think it's not like this thing where like, oh, you're just gonna dive into some deep water and you're trusting without seeing where you're going. I think it's just like, okay, I trust here and I trust here and I trust here and I trust here, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And when we talk about, really the foundation of so much is trust, and we're not taught from a really young age. And I think most of us are women here. We're really not taught to trust ourselves.
Yeah.
We're taught to trust our teachers. We're taught to trust our parents. We're taught that like basically everyone around us knows better than we know. And then we become adults that don't trust ourselves. And we, even worse, become adults that don't trust other people because we rely on them for the wrong things.
Yeah.
We rely on them for the things that we should be relying on ourselves for. So we say things like, I'm always let down. I'm always, this, I'm always that. And it's really because we don't have that strong foundation of trust with ourselves. So we don't really know what trusting other people even looks like.
Yeah, that is so true. Because I think a lot of times people do have trust issues. It's like, oh, what if they don't do what I think they're going to do, or they say they're going to do something that they don't do it for me. Yeah. And a lot of it, I think, is just like you're projecting.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so much of our, it's all projection. But we also project it onto like, trusting like source or the universe or money or whatever it looks like for us. I'm always let down. People say something like, I'm trying so hard and I'm always let down. And I think when you can kind of look at yourself and what are you trusting yourself with? Are you trusting yourself? Are you fully trusting yourself? Are you really, really letting go and trusting the universe? Are you really letting go and trusting other people? Life gets so much easier.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So what would you say to someone who is like so afraid to work with the guides? Because it's like a new thing, right? It was new for you. And especially you come from a science background.
It was so new. And it's so funny because I actually didn't know when we had our first call, I really didn't know what you did. And so I said something like in passing, I was like, oh yeah, psychics. And then you're like, oh, huh. And then you're like, we're called channels these days. And I was like, oh, That's awesome. Like I had never met a channel. And then you kind of like explained it to me and you were like, I was like super novice and you're like, Abraham Hicks, that's channeled. And I was like, oh, I always thought he was like an old man that had written this like many, many years ago. So I had never read it because I'm very judgmental of like old men telling me what to do. So I was like, I'm not interested in Abraham Hicks and whatever he has to say. And you're like, no, and I was like, oh, well, now I'm into it. And I bought my kids like the Abraham Hicks for Kids book and everything. But I was like super, super novice. So I had no idea what to expect. And I think that honestly, it blew me away in so many ways because it was really practical and it was really related to the session was really, really related to everything that I wanted to know for myself, for my business, for all of like the practical kind of stuff. But then there was also that like bird's eye view of everything, which humans can't give you.
Yeah.
Where very few people are going to be able to extract you from like your micro strategy and like your myopic view of everything that is going on in your life and the drama, like you say, which is essentially what it is. When we work with coaches, even the best coaches, we're human. We've got that drama, and so I think like having that bird's eye view, having them like then lift me up and be like, and on a bigger picture, this is what you need for your life because you're a human being, right? And I think that to me was probably for me, one of the most powerful parts.
Yeah, because they really have this ability to take you, just like zoom out.
Mm-hmm.
I really don't know how they do it, and I see it sometimes, like with the visuals that they give me. Mm-hmm. It's like they just zoom out. It's like, okay, you're like on top of the building, looking down, and you get to see like the whole city.
Yeah,
not just.
But
like,
they also, and it's like because they humor you. Like at the beginning, it's like, oh, right. Like you have this question. Okay, we'll give you like the really human answer for this issue that you have. But then we're going to take you out. We're going to pick you up and we're going to like lift you up here. So you can now see this and see how small and insignificant it all is, and it's really powerful to be able to have both views.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes they're like, okay, you have this minor question. We're going to answer it. Don't worry. And then we're going to show you this real thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it kind of makes you realize like, and also a way of describing what you need to do in a way that almost calls you out without calling you out. Like really getting to like the crux of it, and not, it's just interesting. It's interesting how it always really is like what you need to know about this.
Yeah. But not always what you want to hear.
Right.
They do that to me all the time. I mean, I would say like 90% of the times I don't want to hear what they have to say. I'm like, you guys are so annoying. Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to do this? But when you actually do, then it's like, okay, fine.
Yeah, I always think of you. You're always like texting me. You're like, the guides are being super annoying and they're making me do this thing. It's just so funny.
Yeah, because it is like, sometimes when they offer ideas, it's like on Tuesday, we had one of my students came on, and she's already someone who's making 7 figures. She's like, oh, so how do I get to like the $3 million mark? The guy's like, no, it's such a small goal.
Yeah.
And they just kind of like, no, you need to think like 10 million loosely in that direction.
Yeah. And which is what you need to do really to like move forward, because if you don't have that, I think sometimes, when we have we just get myopic as humans, right? We just get really, really close-minded and we don't even realize like how much we're not tapping into our limitlessness until we have it presented to us like this.
Yeah, that's very true. Because like you just see what you see, and it's like they usually give me like this analogy of, you just see like the street that you're on, you see the buildings that are next to you, so that's like your view. Like your view is this much, like you said, it's myopic, but they're kind of standing at the top of the mountain, so they really see kind of all possible paths for you. For them, it's like, just pick one. They always say that, and it's like very annoying sometimes to me. I'm like, stop telling people that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In one of the sessions that I had, they were like, right, there were once upon a time a few paths in front of you and you picked one that's great. It was a great path for you to pick. So now you can just continue on that. And I was like, what were the other paths? Like that. It was like that commitment session. I was like, what were the other paths? What did I miss? Like, what had the other paths been? How far back? how far back could I have chosen another path? Like, can I still walk back and choose another? It's like you get like in your head, the FOMO. But they were like, right, you just picked a path and that's great. Now just continue down that path and keep picking that path. And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm thinking about all these.
But I mean, look at all the stickers on your wall.
Look at all the stickers. I picked the path. I got so many heart Post-its.
Yeah. In case people didn't know, those are all sign-ups for her program.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jess and Jessie are like, that FOMO would get me too. Yeah, it is. It's funny. But then you think about it and you're like, right, this is, and it's just been, in terms of like happiness, I feel like my happiness level is so high because when you put things in perspective and you kind of realize that all of the things that we tell ourselves matter so much, right?
Yeah.
Like once you can take a different view on it, like even like, having so many people signing up for a program or whatever, like it doesn't mean what I thought that it would mean. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just so different getting there and doing it. It's so different than like what I thought. There's no attachment to it. It's really only like joy and enjoyment and fun, essentially.
Yeah. And I think that's the essence, right, of what everyone wants to get to. But you think you're going to only get there. Like you think you're only going to have the happiness after you get to some place. Mm-hmm. But it's like all these little things that you need to kind of fill yourself up with. And then once you get there, it's like, oh, okay, here's the next thing. Mm-hmm. Right? It's like the natural extension of that next thing. So
yeah. Jess wants to know, do the guides think there's a right path for each soul, or is it just the one we pick and we find the lessons within it? Based on like what they've told us, it seems like there's like not really so much like a right path, right?
Yeah.
That there's like so many ways to kind of fulfill your soul contract, whatever that looks like.
I think so. Because like at least the way they say to me and a lot of students, like, okay, pick a path, then that becomes your calling. Mm-hmm. Or you could have picked a different path and that would have become your calling. So it's not like a set thing. They always say there's no destiny in the sense like you have to do this in your life and then you're going to be like happy and fulfilled and all the stuff. And I agree. It's not about this like destiny thing. Like I am supposed to be a writer in life,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also if you think about like, I think that changes. Like back in the days, I think with my parents, they have like one job and they have their like one job forever, right? But now it's like you change every 5 years, every 10 years. So your path really can change depending on just what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially nowadays. And I think like with technology and everything, and this is what I love. Another kind of like important point is that I think that we're going to continue seeing such an uptick in spirituality and coaching and all of these things because the way that we are evolving as humans, as people with the aid of technology is so fast. Like we've hit that critical point as a species, right? Where we are learning all of these things, where we are really channeling all of these higher messages, where we are activating our DNA in a way that is speeding up evolution so quickly that there's no way for our brain to keep up without assistance.
Yeah. No,
there's no way to like fully keep up with everything that is changing without tapping into source.
Yes, tapping into source. So, so what would you to say to someone if they were to consider the Council of Billionaires? Because you've heard all about it. You're like the first person that I told. The guys just told me to do something super crazy.
Yes. And I would say, and I was the one that told you, I was like, people, because you were like, oh, the investment. And I was like, people invest in this all the time. Right. But we think about it all wrong. People easily invest this in college, right? College courses. People easily invest in another degree that maybe they don't need, but they're not sure. They take out loans. They do this, they do that. But when it comes to the investment in your business, you're going to get such bigger results, right? Or your business or your life or whatever, right? It's all about rethinking our idea of growth and rethinking our idea of achievement and everything else, right? And in the grand scheme of things, it's one of the best things that you can do for yourself to have that growth and that expansion. And I really think that the way that things are moving now, I really think that expansion is so necessary to really take advantage of everything that's coming, everything that's in store for the next few years, decades, whatever, you need to have that upgraded thinking, and you need to fast track your way there.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, that's definitely their intention, right? When it comes to Council Billionaire, really for people to upgrade their wealth container. But that wealth container, like once you build that wealth container, you're doing it not just for yourself, but you're actually doing it for the whole planet. Like you're really going to shift on a global scale and redistribute that wealth, not just like money is in the hands of like a few people, you know.
Yeah. And I think that just the way, like the way that money is evolving, it's the currency is shifting so quickly that the way that we think of it, like even with Bitcoin, if you even think about like just Bitcoin and what Bitcoin has done for like our concept of currency, how fast currency can appreciate, how fast it can drop, like all of these like fluctuations and stuff. When we grew up, it was like, you want money? All right, I'm going to hand it out. Like the treasury printed X amount of money a year. Our concept of money and what we've grown up with is so different than what it is today. And without doing the work, without, doing this work, there's no way to upgrade our thinking fast enough to take advantage of it and to actually propel the change that we want to see.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Oh, I so appreciate you, Gaby.
I so appreciate you. No, really, like I feel like you've changed my life so much, and I'm so grateful for you.
Oh. Well, I feel the same. We're like sisters.
Yeah. And even having your friendship has been so special. So
I feel the same. Thank you so much.